Welcome to the Online Digital Marketing Podcast. We'll be discussing marketing strategies, trends, and tips that will help your business succeed in the digital age. Every episode, we'll be interviewing industry professionals and providing valuable insights on how to leverage digital tools for maximum engagement and ROI. Don't forget to subscribe so you can stay up to date on the latest trends in online marketing.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on the Online Digital Marketing Podcast and Training. Today, I have a guest who's situated in the windy city of Chicago, Illinois, and I'm proud to have him, and thank you for joining us, Reed. And to give you a little background on Reed, if I can find my glasses here, because I can't read my screen. Okay, let me introduce him and tell you a little bit about him. Reed is a veteran marketer and the chief growth officer at Market Surge, which there is where he specializes in helping service-based businesses growing through smart, results-driven marketing strategies. With over a decade of hands-on experience, he has led high-impact campaigns across startups as well as Fortune 500 companies. He's consistently driving sales through digital innovation, and he previously founded the $1 Million Studio and held senior marketing roles at Northwestern University, Punch Kick Interactive, and Solstice. Known for blending his creative storytelling with data-backed strategy, Reed is passionate about making powerful marketing accessible as well as profitable for any business of any size. So once again, Reed, thank you for joining us and thank you for sharing with us today the information that we're going to do. How you doing,
Pleasure.
Chicago?
Thank you. Yeah, really excited to be here. I've immersed myself in your Facebook community and listened to many of your past podcasts, and I love this group and appreciate the openness and friendliness and that's
That's
here.
great. By the way, if you have any friends, please recommend them. It is a private group. They do have to go in there and tell us a little bit about themselves, but we welcome new members that meet these standards and accept our rules and regulations. So let's jump right into this because today, obviously, we're going to be talking about AI and how it's affecting the digital marketing agencies and what's happening from the small business straight up to the big boys who are using AI just about to do everything. Um, and I did see a couple of videos recently. The father of AI on YouTube, an interview, I guess CBS News in New York did a piece on him and another gentleman, and it's almost scary what AI has done. My own experience with it is really knocking my socks off. But let's start with this, Reed, if you will, and answer this for us. How do you balance using AI for automation without losing that human touch in a brand's message?
That's a great question, and I think a lot of marketers are asking themselves the same question when they get different kinds of feedback from different people they reach out to. I would say that there's a couple frameworks that I'll refer to. I like using frameworks just because they're repeatable and easy to remember. But first is there's a three-tier approach. Now, the first is you want to think in terms of a macro reach because what AI does great is it can synthesize information, large masses of information very quickly and produce what I'd say quote unquote personalization at scale. So your tier one would be your macro personalization. So that would be focusing a message on a broad industry with like broad pain points. That would be like your social advertising, YouTube videos that maybe are targeted towards a certain industry. So I market a lot towards home services. And so if I said home services, that's kind of a macro group. It might not be as resonant to somebody that's an HVAC contractor or a plumber because home services, but I'm doing something in general. Now, if I get some engagement, then they then I can move to the next tier of personalization, which is mid-level. And one thing that enables that is if they take some action and they identify themselves. So a lot of times it's they access a guide, marketing guide, or some lead magnet. They fill out a form and they've given me an additional layer of information. And so maybe from this, I know that they're a plumber. Maybe I know that they're interested in SEO, or they're interested in more higher performing online ads. So I've got a little bit more information. And so this is where I start to include them in email automations for nurturing. And I've got, like I said, I've filtered them down based on responses to a form. Now, finally, tier 3 is where and we can think of it as a funnel. Tier 1 is like as many people as I can reach. Tier 2 is a filtered group that is shown some engagement. And tier 3 is almost at the one-on-one level where I've reached, maybe looked at their LinkedIn profile, what they're posting online, some specific notes from their website, or maybe I've started to communicate with them personally. And this is where I can use things like retargeted ads, uh, like even AI generated personalized emails, or actual personalized emails and video introduction. So it's basically, you think about where they are in their level of readiness for purchase, um, is is how you go further in the personalization. Now, AI can synthesize some information that you provide in mass, but it will ring true unless you add your insights. So really, AI is only as good as the prompts you give it, and your focus should be on the potential clients or people that are at the stage of the sales cycle where they're closest to close. So prioritize that level of personalization. And when you're going broad with mass outreach, or non-specific videos on YouTube, those are great places to use AI to research an industry and research a general message. Um, so that was one framework. Another you want to think about too is, let's see, I'm sorry. There we go. The 70-20-10 rule. I'm just scrolling through a couple notes I made. The first is that when you are creating any content, you want to put 70% of your content that's like, when I'm saying content, it's like whatever you're putting out to the public from a business, under your business brand, your videos, your blogs. 70% of those should have some universal value. And then 20% is more adapted for a segment. And then 10% is what you're generating for individuals. So, and when you define a market, then you can change those numbers. But if you're just trying to get new clients in mass, start general and then filter down. So put 70% of your offer or your effort in general, and then tailor it to audiences in big niches, and then focus in on individuals. Hope that helps. Does that? Um,
Yeah, I think that's a good breakdown. We hear the 80-20 rule all the
yeah.
time. Never heard of that 7-20-10, but it kind of does make sense, especially for those that are listening to this podcast and training, who have just started out, who are looking to do this. I mean, you before you can choose a niche, you have to find the one that you're best comfortable in. And some people will jump right into the home service industry because they're so broadly, I might add, from the plumbers, electricians to the roofers, those are the three main people that everybody jumps in. And, what happens in that case is to identify the niche. Now, I know Donna, who's on the call, long time ago, 2.5 years ago in internet speed, she was able to identify her niche, and it's made a big difference in her growth of her agency as well as obviously her income. And so many of us forget that. And if you're having trouble in the niche that you kind of narrowed down from the 70%, now you're in the 20%, how big of a part when we get down to that last 10% does AI play in that individualization? And then we'll get to Chandra raised his hand, and
Yeah.
we'll get to answer his question in a moment.
Well, that's a great question. The AI can play a part. When you get to hyper personalization, though, if you are generating, sales materials or marketing materials for the one-on-one content, your prompts must be very detailed and very personalized. You need to have ChatGPT is always a great sounding board. It doesn't always have to be the actual content generator, but it within its prompt and its like ready access memory, it can synthesize the various social media profiles, kind of understand what the state of mind is, or the things that the individual is thinking about. Your LinkedIn profile that gives a history of work experience and other interests, and then on top of that, it can add the problems of the industry, current events that are affecting that kind of business, so more general. And so what I would recommend is when you get to the one-on-one level, ChatGPT becomes more of a sounding board and less of the email creator. So you would say like, well, how would you talk to somebody, at this industry, and then is posting about these things? How would you talk to? You can get some ideas, but that's the point I think where you step back from the AI and go as personal as possible. Now that's going to change. I'd say that AI is constantly evolving, but if I'm to the point where I'm about to close a deal with somebody that I've spent a lot of time in discovery, I've used AI probably enough, and I'm ready to be very hands-on with this.
That's great. I mean, we forget that our personalities play a big part in working with people, and AI, as good as it's getting until it perfects itself and learns how to mimic our personality 90% or better, it's certainly not happening. And you keep talking about prompts, and I'm going to get off. I know you're going to talk about some of the tools and tactics you use, and one of the things is being a prompt engineer. I talk to a lot of young people today who are out of college who are looking for that $10,000 side hustle. And I say to them, listen, if you want to do this business right now, don't jump into the business, become a prompt engineer. Learn how to write your prompts because that's going to be all the difference in the world. Okay. So, whether they listen or not, or they look for that $10,000 next month check, I don't know. But that's a problem. Now, I know, Chandra, if you want to jump in here and ask your question, we're ready to take that and then we'll move on.
Um, Reed, just to understand, you said 70% of your content should have universal value. Say I'm in the beauty industry. What would you suggest that should be generic?
No, I wouldn't say. Okay, so can you tell me a little bit more about your business? What just
We are in the fragrance business. We fragrance and bath and body.
Oh, okay, great. Well, your content does need to, I wouldn't say it's agnostic to your industry, but I think you could recognize that just about every human can use your fragrances. They could benefit from smelling better and having an impressive appearance and an attractive impression. So you, the way I would think about it is that you aren't focusing on a wealthy demographic that is looking for a luxury good, or however you've segmented your audience. You're looking at all adults. Now, all adults can probably agree that somebody that smells great is more fun to be around than somebody that doesn't. And this is just an example, but your content can focus around like the universal agreement on the value of your product. And then as you mature, and obviously you've got a lot of expertise in this, then you can create general content, ads, blogs on preferred demographics. So that will resonate, hit them in the luxury forums where they consume content. And I guess I'm making some assumptions, but when you start to segment, then that's where the 20% and the 10% come in. But
That's the niche part, is
that's
it?
the niche part. Yeah.
Okay, which is the beauty industry, like beauty as a general, you filter down to specific to that niche, whatever. It could be the luxury part or the mass market or, whatever. And then the 10% you said individuals, basically, what do you mean by that? Would you use AI or we use our experience over there in that?
So now, some of this advice is you will modify it a little bit for when you're talking business to consumer, because depending on your price point, it may not be practical for you as the business owner to write a personalized message to everybody that is close to buying your product. But if you do have individuals and parts of your sales funnel that are, I guess, so maybe let me ask one more question. Just do you sell direct to consumer, or do you sell through retailers, or?
We have B2B and B2C both.
Okay. So let's think about this more in the B2B realm. Now, when you've identified a potential distributor, like a magnifier for your products, now that's the point where you're writing personalized messages. Now it's basically that you've invested time and you are writing these messages yourself. That should be about 10% of your the quantity of content that your brand is producing. But yeah, when you get more, what you want to do, this is more of a beginning stage. When you get bigger, you've identified your target niches, that 20% can get bigger. Your 10% can also get bigger. And that means you're doing better as a company. So the 70% helps you to get people in your funnel. And when you start to observe people that are closing, your mid strategy and your individual strategy, you'll spend more time and generate more of a percent of that content focused at them.
Got you. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Reed, that's funny because you're talking about generation of the content and how we still have to, when it comes down to it, the last 10, 15, 20% as it changes, uh, will depend on you. Now, to quote my friend and colleague Frank Kern, Frank had said recently in one of our training said that AI is great, but you still have to know a little bit about marketing. When you're doing prompts, even there, you got to know what questions to ask the AI in order to get the best answers. And I couldn't agree more because if we don't put that personal touch in there, then we lose that human characteristic. And people today are becoming more aware of things like I was talking with people in our group, and they know I'm pushing real hard to go to the voice bots. And the voice bots, I noticed as I'm pushing harder to get into that market, I am noticing a lot of my calls are voice bots. I start out, I think I'm talking to someone and realize I'm talking to a machine,
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. So let's move on here. And I'm going to ask you this.
Yeah.
You talked about AI tools and tactics that are service-based businesses should be using right now to help them grow faster. Share with us your two or three best tools you think would be in their interest.
Yeah. So the tool you use will vary by the stage of the funnel we're talking about, or your stage of your marketing process. And so there's quite a few, and some of these will be familiar, and some of these may be a little bit more niche. Um, but if you're looking at content creation is something we were just talking about. I've really enjoyed using Jasper and Claude by Anthropic for generating very well, not I'm not saying personalized, but tailored to industry blogs, and you can give it very elaborate prompting and tones. Those have large input fields. You can also utilize Chat GPT Plus if you create a custom GPT and give it instructions. You can create a wiki. So this is available. This is not hard to do, but you create potentially you create a custom GPT for your company that has all of your brand guidelines, all of the you attach crucial blogs or crucial guides to operation, and that the GPT will answer questions in the context of your company. I've actually done a custom GPT for each one of my clients that I generate content for. And so when I generate a blog, it's not the open conversation window. It's from the perspective and from the memory of all the content we've created in the past with them. So that's in the content. I love what Canva Pro and is doing with its new AI tools. ChatGPT is of course taking big steps forward, but Canva, I think, especially at its price point, is something that most businesses should be utilizing. It enables us non-creative or non-trained graphically generate some great professional-looking templates. Another one I've liked for ads specifically is called adcreative.ai. Take a look at that. It's again pretty inexpensive for a single brand, and you can generate some very high quality videos, text snippets that have been tested and compared against a lot of different successful campaigns. I'm going to just name a couple more because um, I don't want to go too deep, but I use Descript for editing videos. It's nice because the first thing it does is you record the video, but the first thing it does is it makes a transcript, and it reads the transcript with its learning language model and senses, pauses, uhs, which I tend to use quite a bit, and it allows you to edit it dynamically, and it will generate your captions as well for YouTube or other publishing. One last one that I've really liked is um, I've been playing with Kling AI, which is a video generation tool, and I've found it to be particularly high quality and very cheap. I believe it's a Chinese company, but if you're generating imagery for a product demonstration. It can take text and photos and generate some fantastic content. But yeah, happy to jump into any other specific topics like workflow automation. I think a lot of people in your group use the Go High Level tools for generating workflows, which are getting much better as time goes.
Great. I'd like to add to this list that you've come up with, which is great. Some I didn't recognize, but more and more AI, there's probably now literally hundreds of AI tools out there. Donna's writing our own chat GPT or GPT for people. And again, I don't earn anything for recommending this, but for those of you who want to do almost everything other than videos and imagery. Frank Kern spent 2 years in creating his own um, program, which is amazing. You can find it at it's Ojoy, OJOY.ai. It's free for 7 days. And initially, it started out with two of the programs built in. One is oh God, I can't remember the name because I'm getting old, and the other is Rewrite. But the first one, obviously, you put in, and what makes it interesting, it was the first AI that you talk to
Oh,
that you were able you didn't have to type and basically try to write these prompts and it would pick up it's amazing how it duplicates your speech when you see it written out everything it's got it all in there so it's extremely interesting um and what it does is it goes ahead and rewrite. You put stuff that you've written in there before that you want to make better, and you say, how, please make this better, make it more SEO content wise, so forth and so on. And literally, it comes back, and now it becomes the human and starts asking you the questions to clarify what exactly you want. So when you get done, it's not a short process. I'm going to tell you that it's a lot longer than most people think. It takes about 15 minutes to get the prompt to do exactly what you want, but when it's done, it's very humanized. It's tremendous. So it'll get that. The other part of the program, the original part of the program, forgive my dog, but he's talking in the background. Um, Anyway, what happens in the other part of the program is you start with a thought, and then it goes back and forth with you as you become the prompt writer, and it asks you all these questions to write the prompt for you to find the information you want. Now, what he added recently is something called hooks. It will take what you wrote and it'll give you give me 10 great subject lines and uh, you know, uh, subject lines, what do they call them, underneath them, to make this stand out, okay? To get it open, to get a click through, and it's amazing what it creates, okay? And he's releasing, in fact, yesterday, I think it was, and I'm not sure what the new one does, but he's keep building on this multi-million-dollar project he has. And like I say, 7 days free. If you want to join, it's $39 a month. Go check it out. I know I shared it with Randy. I don't know if he had a chance to check it out. Maybe after we get to the end of this, he'll talk about his experience with it. But it's just a tremendous program. And like you say, Canva, I love Canva. I think it's the greatest thing. The fact that they added AI to that. And also, we forget that even Facebook's made Meta AI for doing imagery, realistic imagery. It's really great. So, yeah, and these are great tools. Some of them are free. Some of them have, free demos that you could try for a couple of days or a week. And then there's some, I'm involved with Hedra.
oh,
Uh, Hedge is very interesting because you take an image, like if I took this snapshot of Reed on the screen right now, I can go ahead and animate it. I could actually add his voice to it, and he never has to get on camera again because it will animate the whole thing for him. So that's another great program. So again, because of time and because I talk so much, let's move on to what do you say to business owners who think AI is too technical or it's not for them?
well, I'd say to them that, I am, not a technologist by training or background. I did an Italian major in my undergrad and an MBA in my postgrad. But I would say that it can be learned. There are, the learning language models have accelerated to the point where you can ask the AI itself how to use it and train me on the best practices. So the AI engines you are using are great sources. The second point I'd make is that, do you think that businesses that didn't like electricity or didn't like the internet, do you think that they were well served by being annoyed at it, or being annoyed at the new things they had to learn? I'd say they were they were very massively disrupted, and every business, when I talk about these innovations, electricity, telephone, internet, all of these new tools, they have accelerated the reach of every business, and AI is one of those dividing moments where every business leader, every business operator needs to be familiar, because if all they see it for themselves now is a content generation, or makes pretty images. Wait till tomorrow. There will be more practical applications to a business that will be emerging. We can't comprehend. But if you're not already involved or not familiar with these tools, or starting to think about how it might be a part of your business, then you'll be very, very behind, and it is a risk for your business. But it's also an opportunity. So let me just say that there's tremendous opportunity for every business. So
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. The opportunity, and of course, everybody's worried that AI is going to take over all the jobs that are going to be lost. But I think the real thing, as we've seen, as computers, we're going to put people out of work. Instead, what happens is it actually, there's a sector that gets eliminated, but the new sector that has to do the work to make these other things work become greater employers of the field. So that's something that we have to keep in mind. Now, this is a big question that most people in the agency owners specifically are going to ask. If I was starting a business today, Reed, and I had a zero audience, and this would be even for those that have a couple of clients to people who have many, how would you use AI to get you, in this case, your first paying clients? And for those that have been around for a while, how do you continue to bring new people online into your agency using AI?
Well, great question, and I'm glad I came prepared, because there's a lot of dimensions to this. But first, I would do my best to identify a market need for the product that I'm ready to offer, and I would use. So I'd start right there, go into a dialogue-based GPT like ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok, and say, um, tell me, based on current business trends, tell me what are underserved niches that need help with blank service that I'm offering, or blank product that I'm offering. And then I would ask GPT to help me tailor an offer for that industry. So it would be something that compels them, something that gets their attention and attracts them to take some action. So maybe the offer is like is free content from that you generate from your expertise. Maybe it's a tremendous offer or guarantee that you can make about your service. It's free until you get 10 new clients, or something like that, that would be very eye-catching, but tailored to a group. Now, I would create a funnel with your AI tools, and ask them, so potentially utilizing a CRM at this point, or I think you could probably at this point use a spreadsheet, but just identify the stages in your funnel where you get their intention, you get communication, direct communication, you are able to drive interest and intent, and are able to close deals. So that would trigger actions based on the way they engage with content. Some people are much more apt to certain channels like text or voice or email than others, or more responsive to ads even. And then I would use your GPT, your chat GPT to generate templates. So they could be, what they should include is details about your target customer and the offer that you've generated. And you can, I would lean towards LinkedIn rather than cold email. For a lot of business buyers, a little bit more personalized and engaging, but it will reduce the volume of mail you can send out. But then along the way, thinking of the long game, you need to be generating content to develop some authority. So that would, you can ask AI that in the context of your desired customer and the offer, what are some LinkedIn posts I can make, some blogs I can make, some quick videos, reels and TikToks, maybe more lengthy uh, seminars or free webinars that could be gated with a form, and potentially one or more lead magnets, which are either digital downloads of a document or access to the webinar that I mentioned. Um, and and so I would say, well, and then I would also add a workflow for once they respond and onboarding. So these are things that are embedded in many CRMs. These AI driven actions, and so that's how I would do it. But I would start at defining your ideal customer based on the service you offer and the people you work with. You can refine over time, and you can have multiple ideal customers or personas that you want to work with. And it can be constantly changing, but that is a way to organize your outreach efforts and to start to win over people because you've tailored a message to their needs.
Funny, we talk about personas. Way back when in our archives, you'll find we did a presentation about building your perfect avatar, which is your persona, okay, and how important it is. Recently, a lot of people said it's not as important as what they earn and all of that good stuff, but basically, knowing at least the general things that they're interested in. And again, there's a great book that I recommended a time back. It's about personas and not so much how to talk to people or who they are, but to know why they make the buying decisions they make. If you know that, you've got 80% of the job done when you talk to people. So I know we have a question. I'm going to wait till the end, Chandra, to answer the question you have in chat. But next question, Reed, if you would, how does AI change the way we think about traditional sales funnel?
Yeah, that's a great question. The So AI does a few different things. Obviously, it helps you to personalize or pseudo personalize things very quickly, and so it can give the appearance of, you can send 1,000 emails with an embedded personalization instruction or prompt that can appear to some to have been written as a one-off email. And but conversely, there's this battle. Some people are hyper aware of these sort of things and a little defensive, and others are can be persuaded. Um, the key here is the frameworks are the sales funnel is really the same in any industry. There's the steps. So I've got 6 steps I jot down: awareness, interest, consideration, intent, purchase, and then loyalty or repeat purchase. The An AI can be a part of each of these. So, if you're you can utilize AI for predictive targeting, and that's where Meta AI would come in. It knows general profile of the buyer, like an ideal person to show that ad to. Um, Google Ads, I think, has something similar. So it recognizes based on browsing behavior and interaction with other media, it knows how to do that. And that's at the awareness stage. And so we're seeing more and more ads that like seem intuitive. It's like, I was just talking to my wife about vacations in the Caribbean, and all of a sudden I'm getting these ads for Caribbean vacations. Or I was just talking about how I need to start, maybe getting too personal, but I need to start doing my own haircuts. And then I started getting advertisements for do-it-yourself hair trimming and products. Then what is also, so the next step is what is the ad link to? Is it directing you to a form or something? What's the content of the ad? Now AI is able to generate dynamic landing pages very quickly. So that's a fantastic resource that AI helps. And so you can create dozens, hundreds of landing pages for individuals that developing a web page is not an easy feat, but you can now instruct various AI engines to create these very quickly. And when I as a buyer get there, I'm like, wow, this is a company that's for me. This is the company that understands my need, and they're showing it here on a web page. And the AI can help you with the offer, the calls to action that like makes sense. I've seen some extremely effective things that made me act very quickly. And and these are thriving businesses, so they're doing this to a lot of different kinds of buyers. And then you can also use AI to help you understand when and where to reach out to these potential buyers. So they will give you instructions on which are the best channels and how long to wait in between messages, and then how to adjust the tone and potential objections and the best responses to those objections. And so I could go throughout I can continue, intent. There's chat bots can help answer questions. Your purchase stage is where AI can help in the checkout flow. It can help prompt for additional add-ons, and it can schedule follow-ups and deliveries very easily. But loyalty, I think, is a great one for utilizing AI. You give it information about the kinds of customers you have, and it can tell you when is a good time to ask for a review, what's a good method to ask for a referral, or what are the next upsells that we should focus on with this kind of customer. So it hasn't changed the framework. It hasn't changed the way our brains think about purchasing a product, but it does really help us improve our touch point at each of those stages.
Reed, when we come to the end of today's presentation,
Yeah.
if you could send me a list of those programs that you recommend,
Yeah,
I'd like to be able to add it to the description for everybody to have.
sure.
But just two quick questions here, and we can wrap today's session up. Where do you think AI and marketing are headed in the next 2 to 3 years, which is a lifetime on the internet? And how should a small business be preparing for that right now?
Yeah, great question. So AI is going to get better and faster, but it is going to what I've understood is that there will be frontiers in the learning. Just reading something from Sam Altman that they've hit a little bit of a plateau, and in learning they've consumed about as much content as is available. And so I would say the changes will be maybe the speed of delivery from AI, and then the amount of custom, maybe the amount of prompting we can give it. But the fundamentals for at least the next few years will still rely on the quality of prompting that we give it and the instructions we give it. So I would advise all business owners that are getting up to speed on AI, would like to use AI more, to focus less on the technology and focus more on your ability to think through problems, to empathize with your customers, be well read, be up to speed on current events and current approaches in marketing, and incorporate that into the way you prompt the engines. Because if you want to build your custom GPTs or applications for AI for your customers, you need to be the one to anticipate those needs and solutions. The quality of video, for instance, took a big leap forward about a month ago with ChatGPT, and we'll see big innovations like that here and there. But again, Marvin, to your point, your skills with prompting are going to be more and more important. I was so excited when I years ago started learning about consumer accessible AI, and the exciting thing to me was I was a humanities major, and I'm a big reader. I am not, a coder. I'm not great with my hands. I'm not like a technician. And I have found that AI is very rewarding to people that think that, sorry, not to imply that others don't, but that I think in big picture terms, like what are the world's problems that I could solve? What are interesting what are interesting thinkers saying, and philosophers, and those sorts of being a good thinker is much more important than being a good technician. So continue to refine those thinking skills, and creative skills to get the most out of AI.
That's fantastic. Good thought, Reed. And I know, you know, uh, there's another program out there. If you're not a prompt engineer, like I'm not a technician. I mean, that's one of the reasons OJoy has been a joy for me to use. But I am familiar with the program that I was using prior to that. You may want to look into it if you're having problems like I did, knowing what to write as a prompt. And it's called Prompt-Genie.
Oh, great.
I don't know if it's IO, AI, but you know, feel free to look that up. I mean, I think the subscription is like $7 or $8 a month, and it asks you tell you what I want. Help me write a script, to a prompt to send a series of emails to a contractor that specializes in roofing, to explain to him why social media is so important to be used when used right for his business, and then it'll sit there and it writes a prompt. You drop that into Chat GPT and you're off to the races. So, but as we end today, I do have one final question, and I think it's one that we can all smile at when it's answered. And from your standpoint, you're working with AI, what's the most exciting or unexpected way you've seen someone use AI in their marketing?
Well, so the most exciting thing to me is, as I said, I'm not a technician, but the most exciting thing that I've been able to implement and show some others and see some examples of is to create actual apps using ChatGPT and Gemini. And so it's like I said, you can ask ChatGPT what you don't understand about its response. And so there's multiple layers to this dialogue. I started by creating an ROI calculator for some of the services that I was creating. So I both asked it to help me create the formula, and then I asked it to help create the widget. And then the widget came out not so pretty. It didn't have my branding on it. So I refined it. I changed the shape, made it mobile responsive, and it's been a great driver of traffic to my website. Then I was like, that was pretty easy. What if I try something like, what if I generate ideal customer profile? And that turned out to be much more complex, and I had to call my OpenAI API and host it on Firebase, and I mean, all of a sudden I'm working at the server level, coding and opening terminal and in installing Node JS on my computer. So just doing all of these things that I just couldn't fathom. But the GPT guided me step by step. We're just putting the finishing touches, and you'll see this on our website in the next day or two. And but to me, it was like with no background, I'm able to build apps from scratch and just learn so much about technology. So, but I've seen this like real estate agents are doing things where they're creating virtual remodels of foreclosed homes and many like personal trainers are creating custom workout plans or diet plans. Based on input, based on what's in their pantry. And it's just very exciting and very rewarding for a non-developer like myself.
That's great. Well, as we come to an end today, Reed, if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way? You share your website and your
Yeah.
email or, telephone number if you choose to, or
Sure.
can I find you on LinkedIn? What's the best way and easiest way to connect with you?
Yeah, two ways. So our website is easy to remember. It's marketsurge.io. And my email is reed@marketsurge.io. Reed Hansen, if you want to look me up on LinkedIn, but email or there's a lot of different forms that'll pop up on the site depending on where you are. And you can reach me that way as well. But I am delighted. I'd love to talk to this group of innovators and business operators. It's always fun, and thank you for inviting me to be part of your Facebook group and this podcast. This has been really fun.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out of probably a busy day finishing up on your app there to join us today. I'm going to say thank you to all the listeners and remind you that this podcast and training is available in the private group Accountability for Success Mastermind on Facebook. If you're interested, feel free to join us there and submit your application. We'll certainly consider everybody who wants to be part of that. And accountability is the key here. We want accountability. So if you're listening to this podcast, you're going to want to be active in the group. You want to respond to people's questions. We have a little section called wins when someone has a client come on board after they did their work. It's a celebration. So we encourage you to like, comment, and congratulate those people that post those in the group, as well as just things that you find that are currently working, or for that reason, the reason I started this group was because I also like to discuss what's not working. So before, a lot of us that started the group initially were, I'm going to say, top earners for lack of a better term, and we can get involved in programs and spend the money and buy these programs, not just the foot in the door type thing. If they had a 37 and then a 97 upgrade and then a 297 and then a 997, we could at least buy them, and within the refund period, I might add, show you that if it worked, we could share it with you. So we encourage you. And remember, our group is made up of people. If you have something that's working, even if you're an affiliate, please feel free to post it. Just be able to prove that it's working, that it's not just that you're an affiliate to get a quick sale. If you do that, we would appreciate it more, and it'll help more of us there. So with that, Reed, if you'll stay with us for a minute, we do have a question that I want to cover. But I want to thank everybody for your time today, and I look forward to doing more live broadcasts, as a lot of you know, and remind you that you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. From the group, you're encouraged to download this, or if you go to the podcast platforms, you can obviously listen to it there. Or now, at the end of every month, the podcast will be found at earningcoachmarketing.com on my podcast page. So we look forward to having you back. Join us on the next podcast. Stay tuned, and thank you for joining us.
Ready to take your online business to the next level? Subscribe to our digital marketing podcast and then join our Accountability for Success Mastermind. With expert advice from industry leaders, you'll gain knowledge and insights that will help you succeed in today's digital marketing world. From social media strategies to search engine optimization, we have all the tools you need. Learn from successful entrepreneurs and take control of your online success. Join the Accountability for Success Mastermind now at bit.ly/AFSM podcast.